Hello, it's Mrs. Teal, and this art lesson is about repoussé with geometric and organic shapes. This art lesson will contain two main parts. First, I will be showing you how to create a low-relief image in metal using the process of repoussé on copper. Then I will be showing you how to extend that design in 2 dimensions on a mat using colored pencils. Before we begin, let's review the difference between geometric and organic shapes. Geometric shapes have hard edges and are precise and regular. They're the kind of shapes that can be named, like circles, squares, and rectangles. Organic shapes are free-form and curved, like clouds. It would be impossible to name all of the organic shapes. In this lesson, we are going to use both kinds of shapes, as well as many of the elements and principles of design, specifically texture, pattern, and unity. Before starting with metal, draw a clear idea for your composition on paper. You can see I've done this by tracing my square first so that I can draw my design showing how those shapes and patterns extend from the area inside the square outside into the area that will become the mat. When you're ready to begin with your metal, the first thing you'll need to do is tape up the edges because the edges are extremely sharp. Tear off some masking tape and then put your masking tape parallel to an edge of your metal and just cover up a little bit of the metal, about 1 to 2 centimeters at the most. Flip the project over and then tape the masking tape down on the other side, covering up the same amount of masking tape. Basically, your goal for this is to cover as little metal as possible while creating a nice masking tape frame around your metal so that you have a safe space to work. You'll repeat this on all 4 sides. You should then write your name on the masking tape so that you can distinguish yours from other people without having to have your name on the metal itself. Next, take your sketch and carefully cut out the space that is going to be embossed and chased onto the metal. I recommend you save the remaining portion of your sketch in a safe place so that you can look at it later. Now, with your small sketch, you're going to tape that down securely on at least 2 sides to your piece of metal. You can just place the tape so that it's just touching the masking tape frame. When your drawing is securely attached, you will need a pen and either a magazine or a small stack of newspaper. Place your metal on top of this cushion, and with your pen, you're going to trace over all of the lines on your drawing. You can press pretty firmly as you do this. What's going to happen is you are going to be embossing the design that you drew into the metal by pressing it. And that is what one part of repoussé is all about. Repoussé, by definition, is a method of metalworking in which parts of the design are raised forward in relief from the back or the inside by means of hammers and punches, and detail is added from the front by chasing or engraving. In this lesson, we're going to learn how we can work with both sides of our metal to push and pull the metal to create more 3-dimensional form without removing any of the surface. Once you can clearly see that you have embossed your design into the metal, remove your drawing. You're now ready to begin the metalworking process, which can be done using very simple tools. My favorite tool to use is a wooden stylus as well as a popsicle stick. So those are the 2 tools I will be demonstrating with the most. Since my design is already clearly embossed into the metal, I'm going to next do some chasing. On the back side of the metal, I'm going to push right next to my embossed design to make the design protrude forward more. You can see how as I press down next to the raised areas, I'm creating more definition. I'm going to go back and forth between the two sides to continue to push and pull the metal. As long as you work slowly, your metal should not tear. Your goal, though, is to slowly stretch the metal and create more form, making some areas push forward and other areas recede. As an artist, you decide which areas are going to go forward and which areas are going to go backward. You also get to choose which side is the front and which side is the back. As you work, I encourage you to add more texture, patterns, and designs within the shapes that are already embossed. Try to add designs that include a variety of styles of lines and shapes, both organic and geometric. You'll find that if you work slowly and continue to work from both sides of the metal will stretch quite a lot, giving you more volume. Just remember, the metal needs to stretch slowly or else it will tear. If a hole starts, stop immediately and lighten up your pressure in the future. Plan on continuing to work with a piece of metal that has a hole starting, and just be careful not to allow it to get any larger. Repoussé is an ancient form of art that can be found in early Greek and Roman art through today. It was and still is used to decorate metal items in jewelry and for weapons and armor. The name repoussé is derived from the French word pousser, which means to push forward. Another name for this technique is called metal tooling. I'm now going to demonstrate and review some simple things you can do with just a wooden stylus and popsicle stick. Remember, in addition to embossing and chasing your original line designs, you can also go in and add in patterns using lines and shapes. As seen here, I'm just using the pointed end of my stylus to alternate the direction of short lines to create a simple textural pattern. Here, I'm simply making concentric shapes. Where I saw a square, I made a smaller square inside and then an additional smaller square to add more detail. In another area, I just made a pattern of lines in one direction. I also used the pointed end of my stylus to firmly press in a dot pattern. Use the popsicle stick to stretch the metal and create smooth areas. You can see how I have my index finger on top of the end of the popsicle stick, and I'm trying to gently stretch the metal and push it away. Just remember, if in doubt, press more gently with any of these tools so that you stretch the metal slowly. Since this art lesson is the creation of a non-representative design, there comes a point where you just have to ask yourself, am I finished? Is there more that can be added or more that I want to add? I really want to encourage you to push yourself beyond what's comfortable and add a little bit more even when you think you're finished. Go back in and look for areas that could have some additional line designs or patterns embossed. When you are truly finished, you can stain your metal to give it a more antiqued look and to add more contrast. I am just brushing on a thin layer of black acrylic paint, and then I will be wiping it off the raised surface. The paint will stay in the textured areas. It'll stay in all those crevices and bring out some of that detail. This can get a bit messy, so make sure you have plenty of paper towels handy and a garbage can nearby. When finished, just let that black acrylic paint dry. And while it's drying, you can move on to the next step, which is to prepare your mat. I'm tracing a square that is slightly smaller than the size of my metal to allow for the space that was taped. I just marked the corners of my stencil and then used a ruler to connect the dots, making my square. Then using an X-Acto knife on a mat, I'm cutting out that square so that I have a square hole in my mat. I'm using black poster board for my mat. As you can see, by cutting a hole in your mat, you can then connect your metal to the mat, only having tape show on the back side. A simple trick is to place 2 pieces of masking tape sticky side up on 2 sides of your metal and then place the mat on top. This will allow you to get a good fit before flipping it over and securely taping down the rest. You are now ready to continue your design onto your mat. I like starting with a white colored pencil since my mat is black, and I'm looking at my original sketch to get my ideas so that I can remember some of what I was planning on doing. Now, it's okay if some of your plans change. You do not have to just draw what you had on your original sketch. However, your ultimate goal is to continue and extend all of the shapes and patterns that were begun in the metal. To give your piece unity, you'll want to recognize some of the shapes that you put in the metal and repeat those outside in the mat. In addition, when you're ready to add color, give your piece both unity and balance by repeating some of the same colors throughout the entire mat. Layer your colored pencil and work with value. You can also draw in specific patterns using a sharpened colored pencil just like you did in your metal using the pointy end of the stylus. Emphasize shapes and add more contrast by pairing lighter colors with darker colors right next to them. Designing your mat should be another experience of questioning when you're finished. And again, just push yourself to go beyond what's easy and comfortable to create something that you can feel really proud of. I hope you enjoyed this video lesson on Repoussé with geometric and organic shapes. And I hope you're motivated to try this now yourself.